Hello, everyone. I'm Brandon,
And I'm Mom.
and welcome back here to Tansson Talks TV. We are so excited to have you here today.
Yes, we're excited that you joined us.
Yeah, so first of all, how are you doing today, Mom?
Actually, I'm doing fine. It's a wonderful Monday, so I've had a great day so far.
I'm so glad to hear it. So, are you ready to let everyone know what show is it that we are so excited to speak about this week?
Today we're talking about Hanging with Mr. Cooper.
Yeah, I'm so excited to get into the show. It had a great 5 season run with 101 episodes, and before we get into our synopsis, yeah, as per usual, we like to say how much we know about the show, and I can safely say that I have seen the whole series. Season one, I don't think I've rewatched as much, but I have seen the whole series and numerous episodes I've seen numerous times.
Yeah. And like you, Brandon, I have seen all of them. It has been a long time since I've seen them to rewatch them. I watched them live when they came on, and then I rewatched them, I think, with you later on. But it has still been a long time since I have rewatched the series.
Yeah, I think when I watched it and when you rewatched it, I think that was still at least like 2015 or 16. So it still has been quite a bit.
It has been quite a bit.
But I'm definitely excited to get into this discussion, and you can go ahead and lead us off on our synopsis.
All right. And what's more, we are actually talking about the first episode. I don't know if you guys noticed or not, but we like doing the premiere episodes of these shows. And so for this particular first episode, it actually opens up in a very familiar home. I will let Brandon talk about that a little later, but it opens up with a familiar home. And then with actually a co-star from a different show who a main star from a different show who kind of introduces the series just a little bit. But in essence, there are three particular main characters in this series, and all three of them live together. It begins with Mark Cooper, who it happens to be he's home at the time, and one of his roommates comes in named Robin. Robin is a music teacher, and so they have general discussion about the day. Um, Robin does indicate that she knows that Mark is a substitute teacher and is kind of looking for work. And so she has spoken to the principal and she has found a job for him to work with on the next day for the class. And Mark prefers to be, or is kind of indicated that he prefers to be a PE teacher or a PE substitute. Well, in this case, it's a science class, is what she refers to, and so they have that banter back and forth. And then their other roommate Vanessa comes in, and Vanessa's very excited because now has a date with a gentleman who she has met. I think she works with or has met recently. And so the next scene after that kind of takes place in the classroom. And so Mark is in front of the classroom of these children, and I shouldn't say children; they're teenagers because they're in a high school level. And so, being a substitute teacher, they kind of gave him a little bit of a hard time when he came in. They kind of shortened his last name, they played music, they threw paper at him, and they glued him to a chair. And so it was kind of so those escapades did happen in the classroom, and the principal did come in and kind of observe what was going on there. And so you're just kind of left hanging just a little bit, but Mark didn't have the best day as a substitute teacher for the first day. And then on the next particular scene that comes up, Vanessa has her date with the gentleman who she knows, and he ended up being an interesting person in the sense that he was kind of boring. And so everyone kind of noticed that this gentleman may not have been the right person for Vanessa. And so, but Vanessa did go on her date. And then Mark speaks to her a little later in the episode, and they're talking, and he kind of notices that she's home early. And she says she wasn't home early. And he said, well, it's 8:30. You're home early. And so, and then she, in a later conversation with, not to Mark, but to Robin, she does say that Mark was very boring, which is why she was home early from a particular date. Scene after that, we have Mark back in the classroom. It's the same particular school site. Um, the kids there, he does have better control than he did for the previous time he was there, and he gets an opportunity to speak to the kids, and he kind of connects with them there, and you kind of see where they're going with him beginning the relationship with this particular group of kids that he's working with. And for the most part, that is the episode summed up.
Cool. Well, thank you so much for the synopsis.
You're welcome, Brandon.
Yeah, and I guess I'll go ahead and first tackle what you mentioned at the very beginning, that we do see a familiar person at the very beginning. And so in this first episode of Hanging with Mr. Cooper, we are actually on the set of Growing Pains, which was a 1980 sitcom. It just ended earlier that year that Mr. Cooper has had premiered. And so to start off, you had Alan Thicke, who portrayed the main protagonist and dad of Growing Pains, Dr. Jason Seaver. He showed up as character into the show, walking onto the set as if his fictional family was still living there. And eventually we find out that the set had just been repurposed, and it is indeed the actor. And so Mark is sort of Mark the actor is sort of introducing himself to Alan Thicke, and sort of giving him the rundown of what the show is going to be about. And that's a new show on ABC, the number one network alphabetically. And so it's a really fun montage to help start off the show and sort of do like a passing of the torch, so to speak, from a just ended long running show to another show just beginning.
Yeah. And they did it. I thought they did that really well.
Yeah, I believe that they did as well. And something that they note, though, in this is Alan Thicke wishing actor Mark Curry, the best and hopefully 7 seasons, just like Growing Pains did. Mr. Cooper did not last 7 seasons. It only lasted 5. But nevertheless, though, it did have a long run of its own right.
It did. It did. It did.
But yeah, and so I would say, how much did you remember from this first episode?
Well, I remember the beginning part as with the Growing Pains reflection, sort of. That part I did remember. The whole, and of course, I remembered him being a substitute teacher initially. But after that, I did not remember the first episode at all. And so it was fun to rewatch it, and I still laughed as I did the first time around, because Hanging with Mr. Cooper in general is a show that will make you laugh.
Yeah, I definitely will say that this show has been, quite hilarious at times. And I remember most of like the gist of this episode. But like you said, mainly, especially the first scene. I remember the end credits because at the end credits, Mark actually speaks to the audience, and it's like, okay, cool, you watched the episode. Well, I want to go introduce myself. My name is Mark, and then it cuts straight to the to the actual credits at the end, with the different tags, and the actor has to push away the tags to finish saying his name. So I thought that was a little fun time with the credits.
Yeah, I like that he broke the fourth wall, and he actually does it again when we saw a little bit of the next episode. Not enough for us to watch it, but that's how he started the next episode, and I do recall him doing that throughout the series.
Yeah, and something I will note too, since we did mention that they were on the set of Growing Pains, is that this is only for this first episode, and they get their own set starting with episode 2, which is how the second episode starts off.
Yes, yes.
But I will say, the first time I watched it, I don't think I was familiar or as familiar with Growing
Mm-hmm.
Pains, and so, like, I think I was familiar, but it just didn't click to me that it was the same set. But now, having re-seen both shows, a few times here and there, it definitely, I don't know, it did mess with me a little because I recognize it as the Growing Pains set, and so seeing other actors, completely different scenarios in the same house is a little surreal.
Yeah, it is, and I thought they did a really nice touch with leaving the pictures, leaving just the personal things up from Growing Pains. So you're just not seeing the set; you're knowing that yes, this is purposely done.
Yeah, because they even do note that the family picture from Growing Pains is still on the mantle and everything, and so it's kind of a fun nod to it, and so it's not
Yeah,
like you watching and be like, is that what I think it is? I think the show does a great job at like you said, breaking the fourth wall, but then also
mhm.
having its own fictional show in its own right.
Yeah, that's true too. And Brandon, just I'm sorry, I was just going to ask you questions. Does this show remind you of any other shows?
It probably does. I'm trying to mentally think, but which ones were you thinking about?
I was thinking about Three's Company a little bit, just because there are, there's the group that do live together with their own escapades that go on, with them. And then I thought about Cat a little bit. We talked about Cat at one time, but the fourth wall part of it and how she broke the fourth wall all the time. And so that part, it reminded me of that show also.
Yeah, I definitely see a lot of resemblance with, like you said, like with Freeze Company and having, the three people living in a single area, platonically to make the most out of rent money because rent is expensive. And yes,
Yeah,
definitely with the fourth wall breaking, definitely reminds me of Call Me Cat as well. And I will note too, in this episode, is Vanessa repeatedly asks Robin, yeah, can't we just pay off Mark's share, like, and just have him leave?
yeah, she does. She does. And they say the only reason he's there is because they they needed the money. They couldn't afford it by themselves.
Yeah, and we do note that Robin is said to have known Mark since third grade, but it does not seem that Mark and Vanessa really have any like chemistry prior to this first episode,
Yeah,
and that it truly is just like frenemies in a sense.
yeah, it does seem like that.
But yeah, and so I do know we want to hit on the theme songs, and so what did you think about the first season theme song?
Well, Brandon, as I watched it, and I even commented to you. I said I didn't know there were so many words in this theme song. So I did. I remember the theme song. Cooper had a couple theme songs throughout the years that it was on, and so of course this one with In Vogue singing it is it's a little different, and than the other seasons that they have. But it's a little different from the other seasons that they do have. But it was much longer for this initial episode because the one that syndicated they have kind of shortened the song. And so, where I thought I could home, I could not home because it went on and on and on. Nothing wrong with the theme song; it just went on and on and on. So overall, I would give it a 7 because I couldn't remember the words, and nor I just did not remember the words.
Yeah, I definitely remember like the cadence of the theme song and how it
Mm-hmm.
flows, but
Mm-hmm.
it had been so long since I had seen the full one, the full version of the theme song, and I think even then it probably was just on YouTube clips. But I'm
Mm-hmm.
glad we were able to see the full episode in its entirety because
Yeah.
so many of these times the episodes lose 2 or 3 minutes in re-airing. So thankfully we were able to see the full version.
Yes, I was happy to see the full version also.
Yeah, and noting back to the theme song, um, yeah, when they cut to the theme song, they Mark actually asked, "Where's my theme music?" Because it goes to the sequence, but the music doesn't start until after he asked that question, and
Yes.
that happens
Yeah.
throughout this first season.
Yes, it does.
But yeah, but I will note too that for us having seen the show all the way through, is that this first season actually stands out in that after this season, the tone shifts for the show, going from a more adult oriented show to a more family friendly show.
Hmm. Yes, they and I don't know if we'll tackle the first season per se of the change of the show, at a later time period. But yeah, they make a change in characters, and they do shift, and they add in one child that's in there, and then Raven Simone, for those people who know. And then they also add in a friend for Raven. But then they also give Cooper one of the teenagers in there also becomes one of the main characters also.
Yeah, so it definitely, was an interesting dynamic, but I think, for those of you who are wondering if you should watch the show, I think it flowed really well and didn't seem out of character at all for the show. I think it flowed right well, but yeah, as we begin wrapping this up, I did want to note that we have a connection from one of the previous shows we watched as the character of Robin in this show is actually also in a different world playing Jaleesa.
Yes, yes, and well, that's what I like about the show. For this particular show, Mark Curry, his real name, he was, at least in my eyes, the new person. I remember Holly Robinson from 21 Jump Street when she played on there, and then of course I know Robin, Don Lewis from, like you said, A Different World. And so Mark was the new person who we didn't know who, well, at least I didn't know who he was when the show aired.
But yeah, but I think, this episode just flowed really well and really helped set up the tone for the whole show. And I'm so excited that we were able to cover it.
Yep, I'm excited too. I was excited too to watch it, Brandon.
But yeah, but is there anything else that you want to note before we go ahead and end out this week's discussion?
No, there wasn't anything in particular else that I wanted to note. I just thought overall it was just a nice, easy watch. It was nice to see just a show that anyone could watch with their family. Once more, like we always say, if you have other shows that you'd like for us to watch, please just put it down in the comments below. If you have a reaction that's a little different than ours, or a reaction that's the same that you think about the show, please put it in the comments. We'd love to read them. And we're always looking for new shows. Brandon and I are started thinking about different shows that we want to tackle for the seasons coming up. And so we look forward to having suggestions. And and we're ready. We've been enjoying doing this.
Yeah, this absolutely has been a blast. I'm so glad that we have this platform where we're able to do this. But thank you so much, Mom, as always, for joining me on these discussions. And this has always been so fun.
Oh, you're welcome, Brandon.
Oh yeah. Well, until next time, have a wonderful day, everyone, and we can't wait to see you next time.
All right. Have a great day, everyone.
Bye.
Bye bye.